Today on Tree Talk, we're talking insects, plant health, and critters out in the forest. So stay tuned, we'll be right back. Hello everyone, welcome to Tree Talk. Jamie, Dwayne here. We have Dave out on assignment again.
Right, on assignment.
He's out checking out the forest with this nice weather we're having anyway. So, Jamie, today we're talking about some insects and we'll call them critters.
Yep.
For the most part.
Yep.
So, you have a nice presentation for us. So, how about we just go ahead and maybe get started?
Get started.
And I forgot to mention Central State University, right?
Yep.
And we'll go ahead and
go
start
from
kicking
there.
off.
Yeah. So thanks, Dwayne. So we're just kind of going to get into some of, there are many, but a few of the issues going on with forest health in Ohio. And actually some of this information was inspired by, we were at a recent workshop that ODNR and Division of Forestry put on for professionals, and there were a couple things that they discussed that I think were pretty new to many of us, and so we thought it'd be good to relay that information to some of the folks out there.
Sounds excellent.
Yeah. So in terms of forest health, I mean, maybe one way to start it off, Dwayne, is, I think a lot of folks would ask, well, how would I know, is my forest healthy? And so it's not an easy question to answer, and that's of course why we have professionals that can help you assess that. But there's a lot of things to consider. So you go into a forest and think about what's the species makeup and the kind of composition of things, even structure pieces like different size trees, different age trees. But then some of what we're going to get into today is what's going on with pests and pathogens, kind of insect and disease stuff, and then the invasive plants, which of course we hear about a lot in Ohio. So we're going to hit on a few of those things quick, and then also it's important to think about there are these other factors that are the abiotic factors, but like what's going on with water, soil, air, weather is a big one, sunlight, minerals, and of course then we can talk about other things like how's climate change impact that, or we've been experiencing a lot of kind of high precipitation here in Ohio lately, and how does that impact things? So all of that amounts to what makes it pretty complex and even difficult for professionals to diagnose some of these things. And then I did put a little link up here for something called My Land Plan, but there are actually some neat resources available through My Land Plan where landowners could go ahead and they could start to do some assessment a little bit on their own.
Okay. Yeah. So how we're talking about the health of the forest. So do we, if we're trying to make our forest or a little bit of land that we own a little healthier, do we contact a forest conservationist, a forest ranger? Where would we start, or an extension agent?
Right.
What would be our first steps besides the link to get us started? Would we get a hold of you, maybe Dave? Where would be kind of the first steps?
So Dave and I would be okay answers for sure. And of course, the issue with Dave and I is we're just two people, and we're but we would for sure. The great thing about Dave and I is we would get you to the right person. So I would say even your local extension office, I think, will get you to the right next step.
Okay.
But if you are a woodland owner, I would also say your service forester, your state service forester with the Division of Forestry. And actually, I'm glad you said that, Dwayne, because at the end of this talk, I'm going to make sure folks have the link and the resources to get in touch with those folks.
Great. That's always good. So, excuse me. Okay, so what's our next step for this? I keep wanting to say disease. It's not a disease. It's just the health of the forest. What are some examples to this that's good or bad?
Okay. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I wanted to go ahead and I'm just going to give a couple examples because there are so many options. But again, I tried to pick a few things that are kind of more recent issues, and some of which we're sort of still figuring out. Like so here's one example. This is beech leaf disease, and so this is a pretty fairly recent find here in Ohio. It's impacting American beech. It also is potentially impacting European beech, and so this was actually discovered in Lake County in 2012, and now has been found in multiple counties in Northeast Ohio, and I have those listed there. But if you look at the pictures, you see this kind of dark striping or banding is kind of one of the first indicators of beech leaf disease. But so what's interesting about this one is they are still working on what is the causal agent. And so, and that's what I mean when I say these things are complex, is this is a new thing and they have researchers working on it. But it's like they literally at first didn't even know, like, is this, what is causing this? Like, this, is it a fungus? Is it an insect? There's all these options. And so they do believe now there may be an association with some type of nematode, but they're still researching what exactly is going on.
So does this leaf disease, do we know, I mean, you said it's 2012, that's really new, like you said. Is it killing the trees? Do we know if it's killing them, or if it's, what is it doing to the trees?
So we see this striping, and so it does. So it is causing decline. There is some indication of mortality, but that seems to be more at the sapling stage. So like smaller trees in 1 to 2 years, sometimes they are seeing them die. And I think it's so new that they're still, the verdict is maybe still out, but on larger overstory trees, it takes a longer time for them to really decline. But you tend to see it move from the lower part of the tree up. And I think one of the main messages for homeowners and landowners with this one is, or even just outdoor enthusiasts who maybe see it, is to report it. And that's kind of a theme today. Actually, is because you all are our eyes and ears in a lot of ways, and so we wouldn't even know this was here if people hadn't reported it. And so you'll see there kind of in red, it's if you think you see signs and symptoms of this one, to really please report it right away to Division of Forestry. But some of the other things you'll see is this kind of shriveling as it gets worse at the branch tips, and then the newer buds won't look as healthy, they won't be attached as well, and then you may see that overall decline and mortality, certainly in the smaller trees.
So it seems to be affecting the younger trees, the beginning ones, and so obviously if it's affecting the little ones, then as the years go on, we'll be out of beech trees, right?
Well, right, so. and we also it is impacting the larger trees too. It just seems to take longer, and then it just with anything else, it's like the other scary thing is we just still are figuring pieces out, and so at least having an idea of where all we have it in Ohio and trying to get a handle on that is important. So
interesting.
So that's one of them. So now, Dwayne, I'm going to flip it. I have a question for you, if that's all right.
Yeah.
Can I ask you, what are your thoughts on earthworms? And I know you have a little bit of an ag background. So.
Well, yeah, we are sitting here on a research farm, and obviously for us anyway, earthworms and things like that kind of burrow through the ground, it aerates the ground and makes it a little more fertile and be able to loosen that ground for the plant to grow better, kind of thing. Better for water filtration things, all that stuff. So it's good for us on the ag side, but I hear that it may not be as good for trees. Is this true?
That is true, Dwayne. And this is also some pretty new information to many of us, but earthworms may not be good everywhere. Yeah, and so something else that came up at this forest health meeting, and these again were straight from folks who are researching these issues. So most of what was shared was actually from folks in Michigan and Minnesota sharing about their research. But basically, what they're finding is some sugar maple decline that is directly tied, they believe, to earthworm invasion in the forest.
Really?
And so what's interesting, and things that I was myself kind of have been learning over the last year as I learned about this problem, but basically, earthworms are not typically in our forests, particularly in the northern part of the United States.
Okay.
And so a lot of the areas where it has been glaciated, there isn't a record of earthworms. And then also, a lot of our earthworms are not native earthworms anyway. They tend to be earthworms from other places. I mean, there certainly are some native, but most of what we actually find and use in fishing and composting are not. So I have some other pictures of kind of what happens here, but basically the issue is these worms, they're causing, they say, dramatic changes in hardwood forest ecosystems, but what the change is, if you look at that leaf litter, basically those worms, as you said, they're aerating, they're chomping stuff up.
Yeah.
Well, part of what they chomp up is all that duff and leaf litter and nutrients, and they even will chew up tree roots.
Right.
And so what happens is kind of a cascade of things can happen. So one is they may make a bunch of nutrients available, but just real quick, and then those nutrients are gone, and so that has an impact on the cycling in the forest. And certain species like sugar maple, it's showing it's really hurting. But then also, if you look at that leaf litter, and Dwayne, I don't know if you imagine yourself as a spider or a mouse or somebody in that forest.
Okay.
Which one would you rather hang out in?
Well, I think I'd rather hang out in the top one where I would have a little more cover.
I would think so too. Yeah.
So otherwise, the predators would be after us.
Right. Yeah. So other issues that we can perceive then that to biodiversity and kind of long-term stability with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have any solution for these yet, or is there a management plan that we're getting, trying to prepare?
So once again, I would say, and of course in Ohio, I think we're still learning about this. I think we know Northeast Ohio, there is a little more of a threat, but there could very likely be issues with this other places that we don't even know.
Don't know yet.
One thing the Michigan researcher brought up, which I thought was an interesting point, is this isn't something that it's not like in forestry school we got trained look for earthworms.
Right.
Like that wasn't
definitely. It's not common, I would think.
Right. Yeah. So again, a great link to from one of our neighbors here, the Great Lakes Worm Watch. If you're just curious and want to learn a little bit more about this, and then you on your own property, it can give you some ideas. But one thing I really wanted to share moving forward is we all have a role, even just as a recreator. If you enjoy hiking or mountain biking or fishing, so some tips are: fishermen and women, don't dump your worm bait in the field or the water. You should actually dispose of it in the trash.
Okay.
Caution with compost. So I'm a fan of compost. I don't add worms to mine, but if you do that, there are recommendations for how you can make sure then you're not spreading invasive worms potentially at a forest into a forest ecosystem. Yeah. And then the other thing is just thinking about washing our shoes and tires, basically cleaning off all equipment. When if I go hike in Northeast Ohio and then I come down here to Athens and wear that same,
you could be tracking stuff,
right? And of course that's not with this problem. That's with a lot of these problems. Humans and pets can move things around too. So
I never really thought about cleaning off some of your equipment when you go from maybe like you said, northern to southern Ohio or things like that. But even, I suppose you could even think of that in one forest, because you could be moving it from one section of it to the other.
For sure. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I know we have worms or earthworms. Is there anything else other than an earthworm that we need to be working on?
Sure.
Or looking out for?
There is one more big one that I really wanted to get out there, and this again another one kind of new and on the horizon. I actually am working with an Ohio State colleague, Ashley Kahanick, another extension educator, on a fact sheet. So we don't even have a fact sheet yet in Ohio on this, and thankfully that's because we don't have it in Ohio yet.
We don't want it.
I would say we don't want it, although it is pretty.
I was going to say it looks interesting, but is it always that color?
So this is the spotted lanternfly. Yeah, a beautiful insect. Some of these invasive insects. Remember emerald ash borer, another pretty one. But be on the lookout. We're really concerned about this spotted lanternfly. It's a new non-native invasive insect to the U.S. And it is under quarantine, but unfortunately we are still seeing spread happen. So it has now been reported in Pennsylvania, Virginia, Delaware, Maryland, and New Jersey, which I don't know about you, but that sounds pretty close to comfort for Ohio.
Excuse me, it's a little close.
And so really wanted to just get this on folks' radar, because really how they tend to find it in areas is when folks out there let us know about it. And this would not just be a forest. This impacts agricultural crops as well as forest. Yeah.
So it's not just like the emerald ash borer. They focus on ash trees. So this insect could be targeting all trees?
So a lot of trees. So unfortunately, this insect seems to chow down on quite a few different things. Really? Unfortunately, so its preferred host is actually tree of heaven, and so of course there's some positive there, because that's one of those trees that we don't love in the forest. But so tree of heaven is its kind of first choice typically, but it also enjoys grape, hops, fruit trees, a variety of hardwoods, including like willows and walnut, many different vines. So of course, agriculturally, like the vineyard industry, fruit tree industry is going to be really concerned about this. And then, of course, in the forest too, all the options, all the options for this insect there. And so what I included here to help folks out, we need your help watching for this, and here are some of the images of what you can be looking for. So the egg masses, which could look like some other insect egg masses, but you see that kind of white powdery stuff on the side of the tree. And then there's the nymph stages, so one is the black and one is a little more colorful, and then the adults. So
now, Jamie, I'm going to interrupt just a minute. Do we know if where you said the black one and the red one, so that's B and C there in that picture, do we even know if there's a male or female, or is that in some cases the female may be a dull color, like in birds or something like that? Is this the case with these, or maybe we don't even know yet?
So I will say I'm not 100% sure if there is a male-female differential.
In some, they don't need to be.
And so, right. And I would say, I think, I believe where it's often been noticed the most is actually the adults. because of course those nymphs, if you think, there are other things in the forest that I think look like that, but that adult is pretty distinct.
Yep.
But still, I'd pay attention to both. And then part of what's a little bit, so the egg masses are also fairly concerning, because that is how that is one of the easy ways this insect spreads and transports, because they actually like to plant those egg masses. They'll put it on a tree, but they'll also put it on almost any hard surface, including the side of a vehicle or a train.
Really?
And so you can imagine.
So it doesn't take long for them to plant that, or it doesn't sound like anyway.
Right. So the concern of this transporting is pretty high, and then also, of course, the adults can hitch a ride as well. So lots of concerns with this one. So we're just asking folks to keep their eyes peeled. Other things they might see, so they might actually see the insects or the egg masses, and again, you see all these different things those egg masses might attach to, and then you can also look on the tree for weeping sap, a lot of buildup of like honeydew and black sooty mold, and you might see other things swarming like yellow jackets or hornets attracted to that sap. But those symptoms, unfortunately, the tree's reaction or the plant's reaction, they can be caused by some other things, but that might be some stuff that folks can look for.
I want to ask one more question about the eggplant, or the eggs on the tree. Kim, is there roughly a size, do we know? So if I'm looking at a tree, is it the size of my thumb of that little egg ribbon?
So the insect itself is about an inch, and then the size of the egg mass, and I can go back. I think
in the picture it looks huge, but
I think they're kind of smaller patches than that. I think that's not to scale per se.
So we're talking maybe if you were to look out in the forest or be on the eye, we may be only talking a half inch or something.
I think
so. It could be hard to see.
And reminiscent of, like, there are other insect, like I'm thinking of like gypsy moth egg mass, and I don't know if they're exactly the same size, but if you think about that, it would be easy to miss that type of thing. So
and it looks like it blends in.
And these are great questions, Dwayne, and if folks have these questions, we can point you in the direction to help give some more specific, and we have resources that can give some more of those specific details.
Great.
So anyway, just kind of recap, not detected yet in Ohio. Probably the number one thing is report it. If you happen to find this one is really important to immediately report. Currently they're saying Ohio Department of Ag would be the first place to report. But again, yes, if you contact an extension agent or a service forester, they're going to know to relay this, and actually capture the insect if you can, so they can confirm that. Confirm. And then be aware of spreading, just like with all these other things, not moving firewood, paying attention to your vehicle, clean. If you're traveling across the country, go through a car wash, different things like that. But then because Pennsylvania already has it, they have some good information out there on management. There are management options for this as well, which that's good news.
I'm glad they're looking out for it. Because as it goes, it seems like our wooded areas are getting smaller and smaller, either by man destroying them for building houses, or these emerald ash borers and things like that taking our trees away pretty quickly.
Right.
Even though they take a long time to grow.
There's always something new, right? Yeah, absolutely.
So if we're talking about insects, is there plants that we should be looking out for?
So absolutely. So in our short little episode today, we can't hit everything, but I thought I'd also share, and folks are probably familiar with some of these, but here's some of the other stuff going on. This is just from Division of Forestry's kind of I guess the hot list. And they have, so you can see there some other insect issues, and then a lot of different invasive plant issues, and they have some great resources. So if folks haven't checked that out, I really encourage you to. And then I thought I would go ahead and give another example that is very timely right now.
Yeah.
So these are some photos. One of these is a photo I took, and the one with lots of trees in the background is from Division of Forestry. But this is Callery pear in bloom right now. So if you see those kind of white blooms along the roadsides, and a lot of that is pear right now. And so this is one of those interesting stories where we use this a lot in landscaping, and it was supposedly sterile, but unfortunately in the long run we found out that it because there's so many different varieties of it, it has found a way to cross-pollinate with some wild, and now is kind of encroaching in the forest. So so this is something that, you know, landowners can maybe, now is the good time of year to see, do I have some things going on with Callery pear? And again, there are some management options. So just one little example. There's lots of invasive issues, but this is one that Division of Forestry does have some information about on their webpage. Yeah.
I know. I have a few little trees around the house and a little bit of a wood lot there, and right on the edge, it seems like we have a lot of trees that vines grow up now. All of a sudden, in the last couple of years, it seems like they have just gotten so viney, and whether it's a Virginia creeper or whatever, but it looks like it's killing the tree. So even that can be an invasive species. Because it's killing it.
Even if it's native, and then of course there are some things that aren't supposed to be there too. And that's why you know, we really encourage folks to get help, basically, because that's why it's so important to know your forest, to have a management plan, to seek professional assistance, because this stuff is complicated, and so that's why we have our state service foresters and local extension professionals to help folks navigate it. And even for us, we have to use the resources and keep learning this new information.
Good stuff. So again, you keep talking about contacting your service forester. How do we get a hold of them? How do we get a hold of you? How do we get a hold of Dave or anything like that?
So I have, I would say, I would really suggest the first line of defense, especially for woodland owners, is the state service forester. So I have a link up there, or honestly, if you just Googled or searched Service Forester Ohio, you should come to this map that shows who your contact is. We also have a forest health specialist for the state in Division of Forestry named Tom Macy. Cooperative Extension, of course, through Ohio State University or Central State University will get you the right direction, or Ohio Department of Ag. And I know we're about out of time. Can I plug a couple upcoming events, Dwayne?
Yeah, absolutely. Always good to do.
Real quickly, just wanted to share environmental education, folks. If you're interested, we're doing an early childhood workshop on May 5th from 1 to 4. You can contact me, Jamie Dahl, if you're interested in signing up. That's going to be in Athens, Ohio. We are doing one of our first women owning woodlands sessions, kind of a listening and social session on Monday, May 6th at 5:15 at the Albany Library. And again, let me know if you want some more information on that. And then some of you may have been waiting for a day in the woods to start up again. And so May 10th and May 24th, we have our first events with that. And of course, you can go to Southeast Ohio Woods to learn more about those.
That's awesome. That it's great information. Sounds like you're getting busy. So with the nice weather coming up, and hopefully all of these species, insects don't give us too much trouble. Jamie, again, thank you for all the information. I know we're out of time, so maybe next time we'll tackle some more tasks.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Wayne.
Everybody have a great day.